Welcome to Shotcallers. I'm Dennis Postema, your host, and I am here with Brett Wagner. He is the owner and founder of Wagner Metals, among other companies. And we're very excited to, I just met Brett a few weeks ago, and we've been working together. I'm very excited to chat with you today. Thank you for coming and being on the show, Brett.
Absolutely.
So just kind of going to delve into it, I guess. How did you get into, let's actually start from the beginning. Okay. When was it that you decided, when did you get your first paycheck and from a corporate company? When did you start working? How old were you?
I would have been 15, and I actually started for a roofing company.
Okay.
It's been my entire life. I got sent out to a job. I can remember plain as day. My first lesson was get your hands out of your pocket. You look like you're not doing anything.
Okay.
There's always something to do. And I remember that to this day. So I'm leery about it. I'll be out on a job site or something talking to somebody. I'll put my hands in my pocket and I'm like, oh, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, at least look like you're doing something, you know. It was an extremely rough job. Back then, roofers were a little bit different. They were not nice to me.
Right.
I was not allowed on the roof because of my age. So I was in charge of cleanup.
Yeah.
So these guys would tear off an entire roof, and it was my responsibility to clean the whole thing up. I mean, they would go sit in a truck. They would go get beer and sit there and watch me while screaming at me, you know what I mean? So.
And I'm sure they weren't gentle. They didn't throw it in like a nice pile for you or anything like that, right?
No, they didn't care because it was my responsibility,
right.
You know. So, needless to say, you get a heck of a work ethic by doing that. I mean, they were ruthless.
Right.
Stuff you don't necessarily get away with these
right.
days, you know. But to learn from them to where we are now, I tell these guys all the time, you know, the backstory. Like,
yeah.
I come from the old school
right.
roofing, regardless of my age, whatever. So, yeah, that was a tough lesson to learn. But, yeah.
It's one of those amazing things, too, because I essentially come from the old school, too. And, you know, going through it, it's not exactly fun going through it, but you appreciate it so much later on when you become an entrepreneur and you look at it now versus what what was going on then. And I mean, we're not that old, you know, and
right.
you know, we're pretty much the same age, and to think of what at 15, what was the norm in those atmospheres. But yeah, I always appreciate, you know, learning the grit and whatnot too, because it stays with you.
Right.
You know, you're not afraid to work then. So.
Yeah, and it's something you can tell other people, you know.
Right.
We talked, we were supposed to start a project this morning, we voted, they didn't want to do it. So needless to say, me at 15, I didn't have a choice.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
So, and my old boss, he was mean as all get out, and I appreciate it so much today. But yeah.
That's excellent. That's awesome. So when did you start getting, you know, when did you start developing this itch, so to speak, as far as when were you allowed to get on a roof, and then when did you develop this? Tell us a little bit about the story, how you transformed from the guy who's picking up the roofing and whatnot off the ground to now all of a sudden I'm working for somebody else, I'm doing a job, and then into entrepreneurship. So kind of give us a background there.
I kept kind of sneaking my way up there when the owner wasn't around, you know, trying to learn as much as possible. And as I went, I actually became a pretty good roofer. And that's where it started. And I loved it because the work was just physically demanding. You know, it was hard. There's not a lot of thought into it, you know, when you get, and even nowadays, I would almost prefer some of my days just to go work on a roof, you know. It's
not all the
relaxing.
You know? Right, yeah.
People don't understand that, but so anywho, I continued to roof up until I graduated high school. I went to college and roofed full time while I was there.
Okay.
So I was in the trade forever, and I really enjoyed it for whatever reason. I'm a glutton for punishment, I guess. But
there you go.
I was pretty close to graduating college, and my boss, who I started with, gave me a call and said, "Hey, I got a job for you." So I came back, and the day I came back, he threw me into a foreman role. So he demoted the existing foreman, who had been there forever,
Okay.
gave me his job, sent him with me. So talk about getting thrown in the deep end.
Yeah, gosh, I bet that was an enjoyable trip.
Yeah, yeah, it was great. He sat behind me, you know, even better yet. So I was scared. I was nervous. You know, I had never ran a job, a crew, anything like that. It worked out really well, but with that, I really quickly transitioned into sales. I had the gift of gab. I wasn't pushy. Still not to this day.
Right.
I'm more helpful than anything.
Right.
I don't even consider myself a sales guy.
Yeah.
You got to have sales, or you're not going to do anything. But as I started to do that, I gained some traction. I loved it. You know, I loved being able to help people, especially in the small community that we're at.
Right.
It's awesome, and to most homeowners are uneducated. So with the experience of me working on the job for so long, I was really able to educate them.
Right.
When I first started with the sales, I was so, the mentality of a roofer, I would explain the roof to him too much. I mean, I had a guy actually, I drove by his house and he did it himself. I explained it too damn well.
There you go.
You know,
yeah.
So at the time, my boss was like, I gotta kind of break you this. So I did a little bit of sales training. And from there, it was on.
Yeah.
I got into the production side and the safety side. So I had all this other knowledge, you know, and at this point in time, I had worked for 4 or 5 companies, seen how they were ran,
And you're really learning every aspect of the business, essentially,
Mm-hmm.
from each thing from sales to production to, you know, how to actually do it, which you started, you know,
Yeah.
from when you were 15. Okay.
Yeah. It was natural. It just kept going, you know, and I was beyond fortunate. The owner of the company was like a mentor to me.
Yep.
For all these years, I spent so much time with him, and I really got the idea.
Yeah.
You know, I got the gist of what was going on. So yeah.
Yeah, the thing about mentors, I actually want to touch on 2 points there. I'll start about with the sales aspect. So many people say that they're not in sales, and the thing about sales is we're all in sales. I mean, you know, you had to tell your wife that you were a good pick, and vice versa, right? You know, so we're all in sales, and really the big thing about that is if you have to have belief in your product and what you're out there going and doing, and when you have that and you have the education. I'm like you, whereas that's when the books come into play and whatnot. If you can educate your potential client, now all of a sudden, it's worth the value in that, and you're not really selling. You're just showing value of what you can do, and all of a sudden, the sale is made. I think that's what's nice about, you know, when you're educated and you're helping educating others in that.
Yeah. So when you've got the confidence, you already know it's going to happen. So sales realistically to me is a transfer of emotion.
Yeah.
And that part of it's always been easy for me because I believed in what we were doing.
Right.
Whether it be for another company or even now so more with my own company. I believe that we're the best out there.
Right.
You know, and I never second guess that. Because at the end of the day, the buck stops at me.
Right.
So I can control every aspect of it.
Yeah.
You know, all these guys are still hourly employees. We're not subbing out work. I don't like to give up that control because that's where things can happen, the quality, and so forth. So the sales part, realistically, I'm a salesman, I guess.
Sure.
But that being said, you know, it's something I believe in, I can control, so it's easy.
Yeah. I see that with really all successful companies is they're not as much worried about what their competitors doing. They're more worried about, no, let's focus on us. What can we do better?
Yeah.
How can we be the best at what we do? And the other things just kind of fall into place. You don't have to worry about, oh, our competitor down the road. Who cares? Are we focusing on the best? Because you can go backwards by focusing on what your competitor's doing. You want to go out there and dominate your competitor by being the best company that you can be and doing what's right all the time. And I love that because that's really how you build a successful foundation.
Right. I mean, if you're chasing, why do you want to chase somebody?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I was in track, I ain't chasing somebody around, you know? And
You
I
wanna
thought
be in
about
front,
this.
right?
Yeah, I thought about this morning. you know, about boxing. You get in a ring with somebody, it's not about competition. Like, I want to knock you out.
Yeah.
That's plain and
That's
simple,
right.
you know. And I think that's the attitude that you have to have.
Yeah.
You know, if you're subtle about it and kind of hem-haul around, what are you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, let's go.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. So, I do want to touch back on mentors because you mentioned it, and we've talked a little bit about this before. I had a great mentor in my industry when we started, and you talking about a mentor. He was, I was 20 years old when I started in financial industry, and you know, just kind of from that aspect, he told me just shut up and listen, and I did. I was naive enough. I'm like, well, you know, I see what he's doing, and I like that image.
Right.
What can I do to do that? And he said, just shut up and listen. And sure enough, that's what I did. But mentors, I think so many people try to go at it alone, and the big successful people that I've always seen, they all have a mentor or mentors around them that help them get to that level quicker.
Right.
And that's the easiest way. And you have to have a good group too. You have to hang out with like-minded people. You know, you're really the average of your 5 friends or the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yeah.
You're the average of that, and you're also the average income of those 5 people.
Right.
So if you want to step up your income, you need to make sure that you're evaluating that every so often. So I really love the mentor aspect.
You know, I've never been afraid to ask questions or advice, you know, because when I started, I was young. I was 20-something, full of piss and vinegar, didn't have no direction. I was going to do it. There's no way in hell I was going to fail, you know, like, let's go. Had no clue what I was doing, you know. I didn't think it out, you know. It was one of my biggest mistakes, you know. As we got going, I took every dollar I had, you know, went and bought this roll former. I was going to install metal, blah, blah. I never accounted for, well, I got to have an inventory.
Right.
You know, I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, so all these failures, you know, and I'm learning and not sleeping and working way too hard, it all kind of pushed me along, you know, to settle down a little bit, backtrack and make a plan. So I made a plan. I made my business plan after I started the business.
What are some of the other benefits you think that come as being an entrepreneur or business leader in your?
My schedule. My schedule's huge to me.
Yeah.
I've got a family, wife, 2 daughters who, you know, I cherish. I absolutely adore them all, and it's important for me. My day is generally done at 5:30, 6 o'clock. So I get 3 hours with my girls every night. We cook supper, we play, we go to bed.
Yeah.
If I need to, I can get back up and go back to work, whatever. As we get busy, sometimes, you know, I'll have a couple 8 days, and that's fine. It's necessary.
Right.
But the other thing is, I control my destiny.
Right.
You know, there's no ceiling. People ask, "What are you going to do? What are you going to do?" I'm like, I don't have a clue. But as long as that fire, that grit, that motivation is still there, I'm just going to keep going.
Absolutely.
You know, we've got these 2 other divisions that I'm starting right now. Wagner Metal Sales, a full service roll forming company, which is cool. We've got a window line coming out, Life Tight Windows by Wagner Metals. So the brand is growing.
Yeah.
So I don't believe there's any stopping, you know, and we go through this with my team all the time. They're like, I come running in the office or the conference room in the morning, and they're sitting there and they're looking at me like, oh shit, like what's he got brewing now? I'm like, hey, I got this idea, you know, and they follow suit. I keep them hopping, and they generally start working on it right now.
Right.
You know, so they'll tell me I'm dumb before I ever realized it a lot of times, but a lot of other times they're like, that's a good idea.
And the thing I love about that is, and I talk to a lot of my coaching clients about this, and you bring it up there. One of my quotes that I always say is, imagine what you can achieve if you accomplish all that you're capable of.
Yeah.
You know, if you can sit down and honestly look in the mirror, are you accomplishing, you know, even 2/3 of what you could possibly accomplish? You know, people say, oh, you do this. And I love that you stay grounded with, you know, we knew each other for what, 2 days before, and after 2 days I knew that you family was important for you to get home at 6.
Right.
Kept you grounded, made sure that you put that time towards it. Those are all important things that us as entrepreneurs get lost in the mix of things sometimes when we're starting out, especially, and forget about all those other important things, but realize later on, you know, if you can have that too, you can have your cake and eat it too. Right. You need to build a good team. You need to continue to be able to have repeat business by doing your job well. So,
yeah, it's that time management thing is a killer. You know, right. I work on it all the time, but now my time is so valuable. Especially during the day, I don't have time to sit around and chit chat.
Yeah.
And people don't understand that. It's not being rude, but I need to be productive.
Right.
Because when I go home, that's time to not be productive.
Yeah.
I want to say unwind, but twin girls is crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely important. I mean, you got to have a little bit of everything, I think.
Well, you're giving, I talk to my team about it all the time, you're giving 110% at whatever you're doing. When you're at home at 6 o'clock till 9 o'clock with your girls, you're giving 110% to them. When you're at work, you're giving 110% to them. I've had this talk at least 3 times with my team in the last month, is, you know, you see those people who go to the gym, okay? Right. And they're sitting there, they're texting, and then they're BSing with the guy about whatever, and they're talking, and then they'll put in a couple reps, and then they're back to BSing. Yeah. My brother Tom and I, we always, you know, whenever we go and work out, we're pounding the pavement, and then you look at these guys, and their workout has to be. It doesn't just count when you show up at the gym. Yeah. And I always tell my workers that I said, if you're gonna go to the gym, give it 110%. Don't go there and slack. Right. It's just the same thing with work, with your family. If you're at work, why not give it 110% and see what kind of production comes out of it versus, you know, I've got nobody calling in, I'm going to check Facebook and Instagram and kind of fiddle around with this. And I did want to research that one thing for online, so I get on Google, and, you know, it's so much lack of production. And you don't understand. We did the time analysis worksheet with Clockwork, the book by a gentleman, Mike, I can't remember his last name, but it's amazing. You do the time analysis worksheet and you go through everything you do during the day. Right. And when I did that, I was like, holy crap, I can't believe how much time I'm wasting. Yeah. And once you recognize that, it's a very annoying tactic to have to go through and write everything down, but it's effective. Yeah. I'll get you some of those worksheets, because
absolutely.
My team wanted to kill me when I made them do it, but you know, it's an eye opener.
But as an owner, watching somebody waste time to like get out, like, what are you doing? Like, because them are the same people that are going to whine to you, like, I didn't get this, I didn't get this, I want this, I want this, I want this, and that's all cool. Like, so the goals and actions or the goals and plans you have are goals and plans. Yeah. You know, I can read every book in the world, never put anything in play, and maybe I know a bunch of stuff with nothing. Get your hands out of your pocket.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? It's funny how something so little like that can stick with you, and who knows how it's changed your career and your life just by one little thing like that. I love it.
Yeah, I associate it with so many things.
Yeah, it makes sense with so many things. That's
simple.
What would you say? Is some of the ugly truth? Because I like talking to business leaders and entrepreneurs about this. Because what I see is everybody always sees the glory of the entrepreneurship, you know, like you make your schedule. Yeah. But they also don't see if payroll, whatever it may be, or you've got to work extra hours, how are you going to get everybody motivated for that? They also don't see the bad with it. So, you know, it's not, being an entrepreneur is great, and if you do it properly, you will have freedom like none other. Right. However, it takes a lot to get there, and so what would you say some of the biggest disadvantages you've seen over the years that would help other people that are going through entrepreneurship?
Jeez, the list is a mile long. Yeah. I mean, it really is. The stress, the responsibility. Mm-hmm. When you've got employees, I mean, you're responsible for them, for their payroll, for their family, for their kids,
other people's lives. Yeah.
You know, and that's tough. You know, especially when we were starting out. You know, I'd start to see the job board like this. I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? So 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm sweating, like, I got to do something, you know. And fortunately for me, I've got something different. I don't know what it is, but I'll turn that around really quick. And I've always been able to. But that's one thing, in the late hours, you know, especially when I was starting. I mean, it'd still be 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and we're trying to get roll form the steel, and we're hand bending trim to go install a roof by 6 o'clock.
Yep.
You know, there's so many things that people don't see. I mean, but it's mentally taxing having to pay attention to all these things, wondering if you made the right decision.
Right.
Because you're going to fail.
Yeah.
And you're going to fail, and then you're going to fail some more, and then you're going to fail some more. Then how do you deal with that?
Yeah.
You know, people don't see the mental struggle that goes. I think that's one of the biggest things. It's taxing.
Yeah.
And it'll burn you out. I mean, it's just like getting beat up every single day.
I have that argument all the time because, you know, as you did, you've done the physical aspect, and I did the physical aspect too. As I started at 15 in a career as well. I was a janitor, so but you know, working at 15 and working hard.
Yeah.
But I will say, you know, there was times when we had good jobs when I started helping with assembly and whatnot, where I was going to college and we were allowed to work as many hours as we want. So I'd get up at 2, come in, start working on the shop, start cleaning, I'd get 68 hours in that week.
Yeah.
You know, but I will tell you, which as you know, I would have the argument all day long that physical exhaustion is definitely equivalent to mental exhaustion. And it's really just as taxing. It's a different type of taxing, but it's still exhausting. Give me your morning routine that really gets you going. Is there anything in particular you do, or, you know, usually that's a difference maker for most people?
Yeah. My morning's the most important part of my day. It's going to dictate where my day goes. Right. So it's usually I get up 4:45, 5 o'clock, half hour, 45-minute workout, check my emails, respond to them. Be about 6 o'clock to 6:30. I'll get ready, 6:30 to 7. Get my girls ready. You know, so I get a little bit of everything. Yeah. But after the workout is the most important thing to me.
Agreed.
You know, because it's my time. Like, I don't give a shit about what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's quiet. I can listen to a podcast or either that or just
mentally getting you ready.
Yeah, either that or just totally block everything out and put the loudest thing I can find on. Yeah. And that's peace time. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because when you're busy all the time, you don't get peace time. Yeah. So that's the start of my day. Then usually I'd be at work 7:30, getting the guys out. 7:30 to 8, getting my stuff around, depending on who's in the office, quick meeting. Yeah. Then Wednesdays we have staff meetings and production, sales, marketing. So it all depends on the day. Yeah.
Well, I just think it's great, you know, because I think my team thinks I'm crazy as well. Like, I'll be researching something and send an email at whatever time. And for those who don't know, you and I are working on some projects together. And we're shooting an email to each other at 11 o'clock at night, right, and then turn around and responding at 6 in the morning in conversation. And, yeah, you know, people who aren't doing that, they don't understand that. Right. You know, you're not quitting when just because everybody else is sleeping. You know, yeah. I love Arnold when he's like, you know, you don't get enough sleep, sleep faster. He said, you know, just go ahead. And so it's, I mean, sleep's important. Don't get me wrong, because, you know, insomnia is nothing to joke with, but you know, that's the difference between people who are willing to not fail, or when they fail, get back up. What would you say your biggest mistake is as an entrepreneur?
Not being prepared. Not being prepared when I started. I mean, it was a nightmare. Like I said, my motivation, I always tell people I was way too motivated. I was going, at that point in time, I was going to take over the world with no plan. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You know, as we struggled, I really about got myself into a mess I couldn't fix, you know, multiple times. Sure. That was absolutely my biggest mistake. Yeah. And the other thing I would say was my biggest mistake is I wasn't willing in the beginning to give up responsibilities. Yeah, that's hard. I wanted to do everything until I realized I can't do everything. Yeah. And I'm not even good at everything. Yeah. So it's hard because you want it done and you want to make sure it's at least done right and with, you know, the right attitude. And it's tough to give up. Right. Delegating is a very tough thing for a lot of people to give up, especially with your mindset. Yeah. You know. So that was the worst and best thing I did. Okay. You know. So as I finally did it, you know, like, all right, just go do it, and I had to get myself the feeling or the idea like, all right, you can fail. You know, whoever, make mistakes. I don't care. We'll fix it. Just as long as it's not a mistake that you knew better type
Right.
thing, you know. And
A careless one.
yeah. And as I started to do, like I said, I got thrown in the deep end, you know, here,
Right.
go play with the wolves.
Yeah.
So I do that. I do that now because I want to see what your reaction is.
Right.
I want to see how you're going
It's not
to
always going to go
respond.
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't care if you screw it all up. I want to see that the grit, that, oh, okay.
Yep.
You know, then I can work with you.
Yep.
You know, we can do whatever.
That you didn't
Like,
just give up and throw in the towel. You actually, okay, well, how do we fix
you know,
it?
and we've talked about that give up thing.
Yeah.
I don't have give up.
Yeah.
You know, and you
Your
either-
vocabulary.
and it's rare. I don't know if it's my ego or what it is. Like I can't say, man, I just can't. I failed.
Yeah.
Bullshit. I don't have it, and I think that's rare. You know, I think far too often people get to a point and just not do it. You know, some people give up instantly, but you know, some people will push and push and push. And just give up.
Yeah.
You know, and with business, I mean, push and push and push. If you're pushing on the same thing, maybe you need to figure a different route.
Yeah.
You know, the innovation part of it. You go around it, go this way, go that way. You know, jump
Talk to
over
a
the
couple
damn
people
thing.
who like-minded things that are in
Yeah.
different businesses. That's great for, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It goes back to the old quote, you know, success is a journey, not a destination. And I think the truly successful people understand you're never gonna, you're this type of person too, I assume. You're never gonna just be like sitting there at the end of a day and be like, yep, I made it.
Mhm.
Tomorrow I'm just gonna, you know, not do, you know, I'm done, I made it. That's not how it works. It's,
Yeah.
how can I improve? How can I accomplish more? How can I make my life better and others' lives better around us?
Right.
So,
I often think about business as a game.
yeah.
You know, yeah, I'd refer to Mario Brothers. You know, there's
Sure.
always another level, another level, another level. You beat that game at some point in time. In a game of business, you don't beat it.
Yeah.
But you can put yourself to the next level, to the next level, to the next level, and just keep going. And at that point in time, everybody else is sitting complacent. You know, them so-called competitors are sitting doing the same thing they were, you know, a year ago.
Yeah, they worked really hard 25 years ago, and now they're not doing anything. Yep.
I'm on coast mode. Like, cool. Like, you.
That's fine. I'm glad you've gotten to where you want to be. That's
Yeah.
okay, but I'm not satisfied
I was
yet.
gonna say you better pay attention.
Yeah.
Because everything. So that's the idea. You know, setting the standard.
What advice would you give a new business person or entrepreneur? What would be your best advice you could give them?
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Yeah. Well, be prepared. Be
Yeah.
prepared. Don't think it's all sunshine and butterflies. I mean, it's not. Be prepared for whatever it's going to throw at you, and look a year ahead,
Yeah.
2 years ahead, 3 years ahead. You know, you've got to have a plan, and that's where I failed in the beginning. You know, I didn't have that plan. I would have had a lot smoother start probably.
Yeah.
Right now, who knows? But be prepared with all aspects. You know, and if it's not your cup of tea, if you don't have a knowledge of every aspect of it, don't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Or do your research.
Yeah.
Do your research. Bust your butt. It takes 10,000 hours to become an expert at it. Get started.
yeah, you know, or go find somebody in a similar business.
It
you
can
know?
help. Yeah.
Even now, I'd be more than happy, you know, if somebody wanted to start a construction company, if they wanted to come talk to me. I mean, I don't care. I'll give you an idea of what you should do and what you should look for, and especially with the construction field. I've had people quit working for me, like, I'm making you rich, I'm doing this, blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna go do it myself. Unfortunately, it's the same people you see in the paper with liens on materials and stuff like this, because they go out and do this job and make a couple $1,000, like, sweet,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go put it down on his truck.
Yeah.
Well, you forgot that you got the material bill,
Yeah.
you know, and stuff like that. So be prepared, don't be greedy,
Yeah.
and know that it's not all it's cracked up to be. I mean, it's really not.
Well, I think, yeah, don't take it lightly. It's
Yeah.
not, you're seeing, you know, entrepreneurism is great, being the top of your field is great, but just because you see XYZ in Cancun or in the Bahamas enjoying themselves, or you see that they have a nice vehicle,
Yeah.
don't think that that's not free. That doesn't come for free.
Right.
There's a lot of behind the scenes hard work, lost sleep, health, who knows what that comes with it. And you know, the thing that I always say is whenever I get a new person in here and I'm recruiting and talking to them,
Yeah.
I want to be in your shoes, you know, in the next 2 years. I said, well, first of all, it's probably impossible to be in my shoes in the next 2 years. But let's say you want to be where I'm at, and they're always like, yeah. Are you willing to sacrifice and do what I did to get where I'm at?
Right.
And 99.9% of people who want to be an entrepreneur are not willing to do that. You're not willing to work those hours. You're not willing. You're gonna lose sleep. You're gonna not. It's not taken lightly. And I think, and that's where people fall off because they see. It's you know it's a we always say it's 10, 15, 20 year overnight success.
Mm-hmm.
They don't see
That's
it.
true.
They know about you now. He just automatically or they just automatically blah blah blah. Everybody will tell you. Think no, this is actually half my life now that I've been doing this.
Yeah.
And now we're getting to the point where I get to enjoy some of the benefits. But it's, don't forget about those 20 years,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I just got one more question. I'm going to wrap it up. What's a good book you highly recommend?
There's a bunch really. I like the Can't Hurt Me,
Okay.
David Goggins.
Okay.
He's the only one to get through the Navy SEALs, Army Ranger. I'm not sure what the Air Force was. It's been a while since I read the book, but I love it. I mean, there was no give up. This
Yeah.
guy, I mean, no give up. Like,
And he just
what's-
decided one day, right? Like he was he just
Yeah.
decided I'm going to go. I'm sick of being out of shape and whatever. And
Yeah.
just like
overweight.
like, just turned it around. It's just like yeah, I'm sick of it. So
Yeah, you know,
I'm just going to go do it.
Throwing your middle fingers up
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
everybody, like
Yeah.
I'm on it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's cool. You know, and I read your book yesterday. You Deserve to Be Rich.
Oh.
That's a good book too. I loved it.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
But yeah, I could probably have a list of
Yeah.
it. But there were two that stick out to me right now.
Moral of the story is you're always growing. Reading is good. That's what a lot of people, you know. That's an important part. All the biggest billionaires are reading constantly. So,
Yeah.
well, I appreciate you coming out today. How can people get a hold of you if they want to talk about whatever? What's the best way to reach Brett Wagner at Wagner Metals? I can talk to you. So,
Give us a call at 419-594-7445. You can email our company email, Wagner Metal contacts.com, or you can email me directly, brettw@wagnermetal.com. Check us out on Facebook. We're pretty active there.
Okay.
Instagram. Check out our website, www.wagnermetal.com.
thank you very
We're not hard to find.
There you go. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming out today and us sitting down. So, thank you very much, Brett.
Perfect.